Come on, Rob.
Gotcha, Coach. Just how much, with so many, not necessarily young guys, but younger guys, how much have they had to grow up in the wake of Keenan going down in the last 3 weeks?
Yeah, well, the one thing that we're doing in our program, it's going to be all about growth and leadership, and seeing them come to the fight and come to the battle, and in a sense moving from the middle where they were to now they're in the front. We've definitely been pleased with them. But the one thing that they've always asked and talked about is they wanted to have expanded roles. So seeing them come in with expanded roles and doing the things they're supposed to do when it comes to driving the defense, being the leaders of the defense and making the plays they're supposed to make, we've definitely been pleased with the guys thus far.
I know you weren't here last year when Keenan had to be sidelined with an injury as well, but now being able to kind of experience him from the sidelines, kind of being able to coach these younger guys up, what impresses you the most about him being able to do so and be that guy that they can look to even though he's not on the field?
Yeah, well, that's what you want from a parent, from a leader, is that even though the leader may not be able to participate, their influence is still felt in the room. And that's, for me, that's exactly what I challenged him with, literally from that very day. Even though you may not be here participating, your mark will still be felt on our football team, on our defense, and our room. So he's been able to do that, and I think the guys have really been looking forward to having conversations with him because he'll send in notes and messages on things that he's been seeing from his preparation and watching film as well.
What do you like about what Jayen Smith has done since his role has been elevated, and what do you need to see out of him the rest of this month?
The one thing that we really liked about Jayen is he's been consistent. He's been someone who's been very eager to learn. He's understood the system and the things that he's had to do, and probably even more from a preparation standpoint. I think that's the biggest thing that he's really had to do is turn over the elements of preparation and know exactly what the preparation elements look like. So seeing him do that and grasp, in a sense, both positions, I think we've definitely been very pleased with him. Things we need him to continue to do is continue to take that on from a leadership standpoint. From my perspective, him being more vocal, because he's a very humble and quiet person by nature. Well, as a linebacker, you have to know that the show doesn't start until you arrive, and everyone has to know that you're there. So from a vocal standpoint, we need him to continue to emerge and be able to speak more.
Coach, how would you evaluate how Jeremiah has done taking over at the middle spot and handling the communication, all the things that you guys had Keenan do before he got hurt?
He represents exactly what you want in the power T, which is exactly his nickname. So seeing him emerge, come in and drive everyone and applying all of the skills and duties that he needs to have at the Mike linebacker position, it's been great seeing him emerge and do that. Now, the one thing that you need him to continue to do is just more from a vocal standpoint, continue to be a vocal leader and continue to develop the vocal leadership skills. And the one thing that time has always shown us, the best teacher is experience. So seeing him getting the experience from the last two games, he's come light years ahead of where he was 2 weeks ago. So we know we just have to continue to stay on the learning curve progression, and he's going to continue to get better week in and week out, day in and day out.
You obviously see tempo, Coach, every year or every day on the practice field. How much of a benefit is that for this week, and how different is practice field tempo in terms of getting ready to play versus what you see on a game day with an up-tempo team?
Well, that's the new waves of college football, and I would say for us probably the one advantage of being in the SEC when you're in one of the probably the best and the most premier conference in the country, where you're going to see a lot of different elements in football. So it's great that we get to work against tempo, against our offense, but also there are things you have to be able to do from a day-to-day basis, just being able to play in the SEC. So that's kind of one of the things that we always talk about on our end. There are things we have to do daily, weekly, monthly, because you know you're going to be able to see them in the SEC. So us being able to go against a quote-unquote a mirror image of our offense is something that definitely prepares you. But the one thing that we know is the one greatest preparation is when you have the opportunity to go there and get the experience. So we have goals and things that we want to make sure we do when it comes to tempo. And the biggest thing we have to do is kind of speed up our cycle of the snap progression to make sure we can have our cleats in the ground, our eyes on our keys, and you're ready when the ball is snapped.
You mentioned that Power T nickname for Jeremiah. Where did that come from?
Well, it just came from the room. He's had a couple of different nicknames. I can't tell you all of them, but just know we landed on Power T. It was Ice Tea because we're down here in the South.
As a coach, how pleasing is it to see the young men on your side of the ball come up with a big turnover when they need to, or if things aren't going well on a drive, come up with a big stop in the red zone to turn away another team?
Yeah, well, those are things that you have to do, just quote unquote in football. Someone has to always be ready to there's three things we got to be able to do. Number one is provide the winning edge. Number two is create game-changing plays. And number three is be at your best when it counts the most. If you could just manage and maximize those three things and be consistent at them, success will find you. And all Telander was doing was going to attack and going to do his job. Doing his job, the ball appeared right there. Success will definitely find you often.
In the final stretch of the regular season, where would you like to see your unit maybe take a next step forward?
Well, you know how it is. Once you get into November, you're playing the games that you want to remember. So us being able to take the next steps is just us continuing to do everything we can within the constraints of our defense when it comes to driving everyone to making sure all 11 players are on the same page, making our plays at the point of attack, and we have to continue to find ways to create game-changing plays, giving our offense the ball back or us scoring on defense because we took the ball away.
I know Edwin Spillman's missed some time, but where has he grown since he's gotten to campus?
It was the same scenario from a preparation standpoint, not just the physical things that he's been able to do with Coach Schmidt and them, but seeing him out there at practice, seeing him understand everything. When we're in the meeting room, he's understanding it even more. So even though he hasn't played, he's gotten so much, equity by him being able to be around and practice and doing those things to where when he comes back, I want to make sure we can put the shoe on and he is hitting this thing running. All right, go Vols.